What's up guys, Raziel here, and today I'm going to be giving you a video about what I would change about Mythic Plus in World of Warcraft, and I'm going to address another big issue in World of Warcraft right now, Master Loot, and my thoughts about it. So let's just go.
I am Raziel.
Alright guys, let's just get right into it. Now if you're unfamiliar with what Mythic Plus is, let me give you a little bit of a rundown. I'm sure most of you are familiar, but you know, let's just make things fucking clear here. So what Mythic Plus is it's the regular 5-man content in World of Warcraft, but amplified to get better gear, better rewards, and you can do these. There's no lockout. There's only a lockout on the Mythic 0 level of a dungeon. You can keep going through. Now when you beat a dungeon, as you can see here, you get a chest, and depending on what level you get, the beginning of the reset of the next week, you'll get a piece of gear and some extra loot, all based around how much or how well you did, the highest level key you did. Now when you get a key, you get one each week in your chest. So if you see right here, I have the Underwrought, it's level 8, and because it's level 8, it comes with 3 of these 4 amplifiers to the dungeon that make the dungeon harder, essentially. So it's a really, really cool system. It's actually one of my favorite things to do in World of Warcraft right now. Provides quite a lot of challenge to the game. It's a great way to gear up if you don't like to raid, or even if you do like to raid, you can really complement your loadouts and your gear by doing these every week, and you get drops at the end of every one too. Now each mythic dungeon you run is also timed. So if you beat the timer, you get more loot at the end of the dungeon, and it also levels up your key, whatever key you use. If you don't do it, it depletes your key. So it's important. Now it's completely random which key you get each week, but here's my issue with Mythic Plus, and I know it's an issue a lot of people have, is that all of these modifiers, right, are negative. They're negative to make the dungeon harder, such as fortified, like this week. Non-boss enemies have 20% more health and do 30% more damage. When every time you kill an enemy, it leaves ichor on the ground. If you stand in it, it does damage. If enemies stand in it, it heals them rather quickly. Grievous, when injured below 90% health, players will suffer a constant dot. And then you have, this one is the season. This one stays static for an entire season, which is in this, it's these enemies, these obelisks spawn, you fight them. It's not important what this one is. I'm just saying this changes every week. Now, how I would change Mythic Plus to make it even better is I would give, and again, just thinking on the top of my head, so you may think my ideas suck, which is fine. You're entitled to your own opinion. If you don't like my idea, that's fine. Go fuck yourself. I don't care. If you do like it, or if you have a better idea, let me know in the comments down below. But what I would do is I would give each key a budget of effects, right? So instead of it being on a rotation of 4 negatives, well, 3 negatives and 1 static every week, what I would do is make the negatives that a key can spawn random, the same way that you can, get a random key. And then what I would do is also you can get random good effects to help counter these, but each key has a budget. So let's say its budget is, so right now, for an example, I know I'm rambling here, but just fucking bear with me. A level 15 key is going to net you the highest actual item level gear reward for your chest next week and at the end of the dungeon. 15, you can go higher than 15, but you won't get better gear. You get more of like Titan Residuum, some materials like, the Echoing Visions or whatever. You get more of that shit, but the gear itself, you still can't get any higher than what a 15 provides you. I would give every key a budget. So let's say the budget on a level 15 key is 100 points. And to level up your key, you need to be within a certain range on that budget. So higher than 60, right? So let's say if you ran that key with all negative effects that the key came with and no positive effects, obviously the budget would be maxed out. So the higher max budget and you beat, you get more materials and all that shit instead of just continuously stacking key levels themselves. I think the keys themselves should stay at 15 tops. But what you can do to counter these is every time you add a positive effect, and positive effects would be be more detrimental to your budget, right? So if the cap is 60 for the best gear you can get on a 15, let's say you start at 100, right? Because you have all those negative effects, and you add an effect that's positive, it would then bring it down 10 points. So now it's a 90, and then it goes down to an 80, or, and better, more powerful effects that are good bring that down lower. And if you go below like 60, this is again, all hypothetical example, the key actually down levels to a level 14. If you keep going so low, you screw yourself. If you make the dungeon super easy, you're cutting into your rewards. So you every week and every key you do, you'd want to balance it with, good effects that don't bring you below the budget, but also help counter the more sinister and savage effects that we have here. And not even just effects you have here. Maybe you can get a positive effect that just reduces the amount of enemies in the dungeon that you have to kill. Maybe one that reduces how much health a boss has, or something like fire spells. Fire effects do more damage in this, or shadow effects, So in that case, like, bring a warlock or a shadow priest, or, a fire mage or an ice mage if it's an ice effect, something like that. Or melee hits hit more, so you'd want to, stack a melee group for that specific key. And then when your key upgrades, they all change again. I think that would bring a lot of flavor, because right now all it is like you just watch each week and decide how hard of a butt fucking you're gonna get each week, which I think would help counter that mentality a lot if you could add effects. Maybe even, add effects that are positive. Maybe even have crafting classes being able to create, small bonuses, good effects that don't reduce the key's point range. So you find a blacksmith or a tailor or something for a specific effect that'll give you another good bonus effect to this mythic key. You can attach it to the key, but it won't affect its points. Things like that. There's so much Blizzard could do with this to make it more enjoyable, other than just, hey, how hard do you want to get raped this week? Because some weeks are super easy and some weeks are super not. So that's something that I think I would really, really like to see happen in this situation. So tell me what you think about that idea, guys. Again, I thought about it. Again, a lot of the shit I think about, when I'm taking a shower or I'm falling asleep in bed, try to shut my mind up. Think of other things too, but we're not going to go into detail about that shit. No one's ready for that.
There is so much shit. What you've seen up until now is 1/5.
But yeah, now let's move on to Master Loot, which is a huge pain point right now for the World of Warcraft community. Now, if you're unfamiliar with World of Warcraft in the past, if you didn't play it before Master Loot was taken out of the game, Blizzard gave a lot of excuses of why it was. Let me quickly explain what Master Loot was. Back in the day, all of WoW up until, I think it wasn't removed in Legion, but when you had a full raid group, right, and you'd go to a raid and you'd kill a boss, or even in a dungeon loot would drop off a boss, you could set the master of the group, the party leader could set it to be a raid master loot setting. So if you wanted, that leader got to pick who got each piece of loot. People would roll for the pieces they wanted, and whoever won, the master looter would give it out. Now, a couple reasons Blizzard gave for why they removed it, which are bullshit, and I'll get into it in a minute. But they say master looting was removed because, first and foremost, ninja looting. There's ninja looters, right? And I say that's bullshit. Ninja looting is actually quite rare. It's a very small percent that actually happened too. I mean, I played WoW for over 14 years now, and it happened to me and my group, I think, twice in that entire period of time. And I think there are ways you could counter this. Now, my way that I would add to counter this, Blizzard definitely 100% will never do. And ironically, the reason they won't do it is because it's the exact same reasons of why they removed Master Looter in the first place, and you'll see that in a second, okay? But Master Loot, what I would do to combat ninja looting is if Blizzard implemented some sort of system, and I know it would be really hard, I don't have the kinks worked out, really hard to make this not be a system that gets abused, because let's face it, most people online are shitheads. So, but if someone master ninja looted some gear, right? Everyone in your group could report him in some way, and Blizzard could look at it and go, yeah, he just stole the loot. They can see through the logs. The GM could see through the log. That character would get a mark against his account. If that character gets like 2 or 3 marks total on his account for ninja looting, there is a permanent title put on that character that says ninja looter or piece of shit or goat fucker, something like that, right? Obviously, they wouldn't do something non-PC like that, but what if it said, like the old Legend of Zelda game, Link's Awakening, where if you stole from the shop, your character would be permanently named Thief and there was nothing you could do about it. I think they should do that. It would be a permanent title on your name. You can't hide it. It just says thief or piece of shit. And even if you race change, server transfer, faction change, it sticks forever. That eliminates ninja looting because no one would ever raid with that dickhead again, and he'd have to make a whole new character. So yeah, it shouldn't bind to their account, but at least to that character is what I'm saying. But that'll never happen. Now, the other reason that Blizzard gave was, oh man, this one was really dumb. When they say like, you should get credit for just being there. So we're gonna make loot personal. So even if you were there, you know, you deserve the same chances at loot as everybody else. And to that I call bullshit. That is absolutely bullshit. That is the stupidest, most fucking millennial / Gen Z special, unique snowflake reasoning that I've ever seen in my life. Because that's like saying, hey, there's a big multi-billion-dollar corporation, right? You know, if Blizzard believes that, why don't we just make it so the janitor at Blizzard gets paid the same amount of money as Bobby Kotick and J. Allen Barak? Why not that? They contribute. They clean the toilet seats and, you know, throw out the used tampons in the bathroom and, you know, clean the floors at night and restock the vending machines. They should be on the exact same payroll, right? The exact same amount of money per year. No, because the amount of work they're doing for the company and the type of work they're doing is completely different. How does that apply to a WoW raid? Well, if you have a bunch of people, because, you know, there's an old saying, you're only ever going to be successful in a raid situation as the most retarded person in your group. And that's very true. I've experienced that firsthand. So, you know, all this loot should be straight up, master loot should be an option, especially if you're in a Mythic raid. It's going to 100% be how it is in a Mythic raid because everyone has to pull their weight there. And if you're in a 75% or higher guild group, you should be able to turn on master loot. I can see them having it turned off on looking for raid. God, that shouldn't even exist in the first place. But yeah, it's fine having it gone for looking for raid and maybe even for like just anything that you can just queue for. But I think anything you make a pre-made group for, you should be able to still enable master loot. It just makes so much more sense because there's always going to be those guys in your group that are not pulling their weight, that are just leeching off the rest of the raid, that are not doing shit, that are actually a detriment to your raid, right? Like as if you had a company and your janitor was actively like breaking the toilets and breaking shit because he hates the company. That's what, and costing the company money. That's what a really, really shit person that refuses to get better at their class and refuses to, you know, read dungeon guides and strats for bosses or download the add-ons they need to beat the boss. That's what those people do. They actually are a detriment to the raid. So yeah, that excuse is bullshit. So, we all know, and I think most people agree with me, master loot should still be a thing. But, what thing do we need to do? Right? Why is Blizzard disabling this in the first place? What's going on? And it's very simple. Money. Yep, that's right. The main reason Blizzard removed master looting wasn't for any of the reasons they said. They removed it because if they removed it, there'd be less GM tickets. You know, arguing over like, hey, we gave this loot out, this wrong person got loot, or this guy ninja'd loot. And if Blizzard needs fewer GMs, that's more people they can fire.
You're all fired. All 4 are fired.
It's money that goes directly into Bobby Kotick's and J. Allen Barek's and the higher ups and the shareholders, you know, improve the stock. That's 100% the reason why master looting was removed and why we'll probably never see it come back. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts? Anyway, guys, as always, this has been Raziel. My Twitch information is up there. I stream almost every Thursday in the evening. We get drunk and have a good time. I'm going to be adding some more days soon, hopefully, when my own work schedule changes. But if you haven't seen my last video, I'll link it in the description. I'm doing my first Raz Ask Me Anything, so you can post your questions there. Also, now I've also have my own... my Discord is now open to everyone on YouTube. If you missed my last video, it'll always be in the description of my videos and in my About section. If you're interested in joining the Discord and fucking around with us, talking some shit, but be warned, it's a snowflake melting zone. But as always, my friends, keep it real.